So I just wanted to find out, I guess, before we start, who was here last time when I spoke or have seen my face before? Oh, great. You can leave now. It's the same present now. I'm just joking. um, so that's great. The other thing as well, because I'm trying to make today quite interactive. So I was trying to see if we can, discuss and get your experience as well, because it is something that's new that we're trying out in the market. A show of hands, who is in project management or do project management here? 1, 2, 3. Good, good. Who are architects, process architects, solution architects, enterprise architects? One, really? Wow. um, Business analysts? Any business analysts in the room? Pretty much good. Software engineer, developers? Good mix, good mix. Very good. Any senior executives, management role? Woohoo! Yes, so we can represent the room. Yes, there is a reason why I asked that, so you'll see it in a moment. But before we do, just a little bit about ourselves. Yeah, just to give you a bit of background, I'll run through this quite quickly. Business process management, who's not heard of that? 1, 2. Okay, so basically just a quick rundown. It's a discipline that's evolved since, I guess, the 80s and earlier, came from the car manufacturing side of things. It used to be called business process reengineering, total quality management, TCM. It evolved and eventually ended up being called business process management. Essentially what it is people started to understand that processes are assets. Just similar to people, similar to your products and everything else, they start to value it. They start to want to understand what they are. They start to want to model, uncover what they are, and improve them. So continuous improvement and all that is what BPM is into, optimization, improving cost and revenue. So that's a quick rundown. I won't go into that. I just assume you would know that in a minute. In 2000, Procensol was founded. So a bunch of guys from the UK, they were all developers. They came together. And to make things a little bit more interesting in the industry, although business process management has traditionally been a discipline that people use to continuously improve processes, software organizations started to name their products BPM as well, just to make it interesting and confusing at the same time. So there are people who would say they do BPM, and what really is they develop in BPM software. Okay, so that's two completely separate things. In Queensland University of Technology, there is a BPM research center. You can actually get a master's in BPM, so it's not exactly just software. So there's a clear distinction between the two. However, the founders of Procensol were BPM software developers. They came together and they were good at building BPM software. They became specialists at their field, and they founded Procensol about 6 years ago. And they did design implementation. What we are now, because we kind of started quite early, is the fact that we are project leaders. We lead BPM projects, both in the UK, more so in the UK. Here we lead BPM projects. We are also thought leaders in the field. So we've been around for a while. We've kind of fine-tuned the way we would do such things due to various other reasons, kids and everything else. I stopped my professional doctorate in the best method of BPMS rollouts. So just to give you an indication of, I guess, some of our backgrounds. Now we are transformation leaders, or we try to be. This is the next phase, I reckon, that we need to go. And I'll go into that a bit. And these are all relevant information as well for what we're going to go into. A quick reason why we're here, although it started in the UK, and I stole these slides from my colleagues in the UK when they introduced themselves, and the reason why they they want to open an office here. That's the way they go to office. That's their path. This is how we go to office. So that's a very good reason. This year, we also started in Melbourne, so we opened an office, literally launched the Melbourne office yesterday. We had a launch breakfast yesterday. We launched at the beginning of the year, but we had breakfast yesterday. A quick introduction to some of the customers that we have. So you can see some local. We've helped quite a lot of Queensland government customers as well. So that's where we've been playing for the last 2 years. In Australia, we've established, I think it must be coming to 1.5 years now so far. Okay, so that's a quick one on where we are, what we do in a very short nutshell, but you'll see it as we progress through this session. So the topic is, what does designing thinking, Agile and BPM have in common? Now, if you look at any of these technologies up there, 2 are good, 1 is not good. When introduced into the market or into the ecosystem, in this case, completely disrupted the way things happen, changed history, I guess. If cane toads came and it basically became a pest. There was I don't know if some of you, I think most of you might not know the cane toad story, right? So they had insect problems. The crops were being eaten by locusts or some sort of grasshopper things. So they thought, oh, it's a good idea. Let's introduce cane toads. They eat insects. That's very good, except for the fact that insects, the plants are about this high. So insects are eating at this level with wings. Cane toads are on the ground with not much, 2 meters of tongue. It doesn't work. So didn't solve the problem, completely changed the environment. Disruption. Same thing with Apple and smartphones and iPods and so on. I think we don't have to go to that story there. And recently, we also have BPMS softwares. BPM softwares that say they can do process modeling, 4G or 4th generation development. You model the diagram, and the diagram is the program. Model-driven development, no longer coding. So that means as BAs, if you're modeling your process models, it's no longer hypothesis and sort of, you don't draw diagrams on the back of a napkin anymore. What you draw is the blueprint for the software. So I've seen before very technical BAs, they cross the line and start developing applications. I've seen really sharp developers that can go way faster because after being able to develop in lines of code, draw pictures, and they can interact with business and without needing BAs anymore. So they're crossing the line. We're developing applications now that you can actually, where's the line of code? No. Where's the diagram? How does this look? It's no longer black box, it's white box everywhere you build. So it changes the definition of custom software, right? So that's disruption, that's happening now, but a lot of people don't really know. Okay, so that's the premise of disruption. It can be disrupted. So in the BPM industry, who's a BPM practitioner? Call yourself one in this room. Anybody? Of course you are, because you're from Procensol. So business process management is both, as I said, a discipline where you learn a set of tools and guidelines to set up governance, to continuously discover processes in your organization, put them into a process architecture, very similar to IT architecture, and systematically go through them and improve them as is and to be. This is the current state of your process model. That's your to be state. Run through benefits realization and so on to build a case that this is a better way to do things. And that's BPM in a very consistent way. So for quite a number of years, even university courses have that name on it. They've been operating that way. However, in the last couple of years, I'm challenging even the BPM industry to say that's way too slow. They need to be disrupted. Just to give you an indication that that is true, Gartner, the analyst firm, I think most of you would have heard of Gartner. Gartner has a BPM summit. They've had that for at least the last 8 years. Every June in Sydney, they'll have a BPM summit. All the BPM groupies will come together and they'll talk about BPM. Now, recently, this year, they've changed BPM summit to digital transformation. Digital Business Transformation Summit. Google it, you'll see it. They've changed the name. The process improvement, I can't remember exactly, but it's digital transformation. Those two keywords, buzzwords are in there. So they're shifting as well. Okay, so the idea is, are they ready for big change? Are you ready for big change? Okay, why is that important? Why is that important for architects, for project managers, for BPM practitioners, for developers, to executives, to care about such things? I mean, think of Internet of Things. That's the other buzzword that we use. Anyone don't know what IoT means? Internet of Things. My washing machine has Wi-Fi. Why? Why do I need a Wi-Fi enabled washing machine? Is that because when I go live I can put my washing so that I finally can wash my clothes and then I can just link that integration together? I mean, what does wearable technologies do in this present age? I mean, think about employees, yourselves. You're interacting with your mobile phone most likely more number of hours than you do with your laptop and desktop. Right? Your customers, your end customers, they'd probably be the same. They're more technologically savvy, most of them, than the organizations themselves. And you're still processing stuff with your desktop while they're interacting with laptops, mobile phones, Apple Watches, and so on. So the whole point is that you need to be doing new things, keeping up with technology, more things, because Internet of Things, everything's Wi-Fi enabled, so on, with less money. I mean, let's face it, there's no longer a luxury of, oh, that's a problem, let's just throw money at it, more people. I mean, the burst of the mining industry has already shown that, right? You no longer have the capacity to keep throwing money at problems. So that's the key reason why we care about modern business transformation, and keep doing it. What happens if you caught up and you have a mobile technology, you're able to interact with your customers using the mobile, you've got a mobile phone, that's great. But most people are now doing this when they cross the street, not this anymore, right? Maybe that's the next thing. So how do you keep doing that consistently? The next wave is coming faster and faster and faster. So that's the urgency, that's the why we do this, why we exist, why do we do this? So think of a very simple life cycle. This is not different from any life cycle you're familiar with, thought to reality. I have an idea, I make it happen. I'm hungry, I take my wallet and go buy food. That's a process, right? And obviously, BPM 101, we tend to have this exercise where process model making a coffee. And you get all sorts of answers, you know, from boiling the kettle, tearing the sachet and so on, to taking wallet, go downstairs, order cappuccino. Completely different process model. But the point is, from thought to reality and monitor and keep doing it again, is sort of what most people do in organizations. They try to have measures, they try to have KPIs, they try to keep up with what went wrong and improve it, deliver value. But think of how that happens in your organization and where you interact. You exist in any part of the spectrum. Starting from the executives, we have a problem. We are not modern enough, or we are lagging behind as software is getting old. We need to replace the software. These are all problems. Thought. You discover the problem. You explore. So you get the business analysts to analyze. Then they produce 80 to 100 page documents of requirements that someone needs to read. And then after they read it, they go, yep, that's really good. Let's build a business case. Another 80 to 100 page document to get the business case across, to get the budget. And then you send it to the project management office. And they try to stand it up. And they go hire people. 6 months later, with the charter and everything all done, you kick off the first project. And then the storming happens. You build the team, and then they start building stuff, and then there's problems. The project managers get a headache, and then you start getting some momentum. 1 year later, your software, 2 years later, your solution comes out, by which case you need a new solution, probably 6 months too late. Right? That's the problem of thought to reality. in most organizations. So think of even a smaller cycle, it'll still be too late, right? So that's what we're experiencing today. So the first disruption, so this whole night is about disrupting the industry, disrupting the way you think, disrupting the way you operate, and think about these things. And before I go into what it is, I want to say that this is not easy. Disruption is never easy. Disruption is not the same as, I guess, global trend changes. I mean, the analogy I always give is the difference between throwing a frog, okay, maybe not frog, frog is too inhumane, throwing a cane toad into a pot of boiling water. The cane toad will know it's hot, jump straight up, right? Reactive, may have the opportunity to do that. If the cane toad is in normal temperature water and you start boiling it, the cane toad will go, ooh, that's a bit strange, it's getting a bit warm. And then it goes into jacuzzi spa temperature. That's still pretty good, 60 degrees. By the time the thing is boiling, the cane toad would have no chance to jump out. That's what globalization, global problem, like climate change is the same. We just ignore it, and one day it will just go. So the point of disruption is that it's meant to be hard and fast. It's meant to actually disrupt. And in order to do that, it's not easy. Okay, so I'm not saying that this is gonna you be super MBT people at the end of this day and then you can go and change the world. Changing the world takes time. However, it starts with thinking about it. It starts with knowing that it needs to be done, right? So the first disruption concept is rethinking how we do things. Sounds very easy, but I'll unpack this diagram as we go. This is the thought to reality cycle that we talked about, right? If you think about ideas all the way to monitoring to improving, along the way, we introduce the concept of agile, the latest trend word. You just put agile in front or behind of any type of thing and it just sounds nice at the moment, right? So the whole idea is design thinking. The whole idea is prototyping till it's real. So imagine you don't have to be faced with 80-page, 100-page documents, business cases, and so on. Wouldn't it be nice? But then your customers or your end business don't know what they want, right? So how do you? So it's a problem. You're writing 80 pages for something they don't know that they might or may not want because they communicate it wrong. So why do it? Design thinking is that you're prototyping something. You're basically going to quickly put something together and then so is this what you want? No. Or maybe the arm looks a bit weird. Maybe it needs to be another arm. It needs another head. It's not the dragon head we need. We want a cow head. You know, you kind of just mold it till it's something they need. And the whole point of that then is to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. Fast delivery. And that's kind of agile, isn't it? Who knows who's practicing? Who knows who studied Agile in this room? Quite a few. Yes, it's the latest trend. If you haven't, go study it. At the moment, it's the buzz thing. However, most people don't do it well, unfortunately, with Agile, right? So it's starting to have a sour taste in some organizations' mouth. Why? Because the principle of Agile is exactly this, is to keep producing products iteration by iteration by iteration by iteration by iteration. Not in a project. But most people use it in a project. Not only for, this is where I'm pushing the boundary a bit, not only for implementation of software. Look, I tried to use Scrum at home to buy groceries. Didn't work, my wife didn't like it, but I still think the theory could work. We got stuff to do, we got chores, we got groceries, they're products. You can do it in weekly cycles, right? So, just to test the theory, I'm not doing that Agile at home. But that's the first thing. If you can actually, the proof's in the pudding, if you can actually show something to your customer, to your business, then they'll go instant feedback. They'll go, yep, that's what we need. Yep, that's what we want. And how can we make it better? How can we make it better? How can we make it better? That's the theory. Okay. Now we have problems trying to do that. The first problem is, what's your business case? What am I going to get at the end of the day? Well, it's kind of roughly this thing that will have arms and legs, but I can't really tell you exactly what it is. And I can't really tell you how much you're going to save. I can't really tell you how much you're going to improve. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying that we've got answers to everything. However, we'll talk about an example project that we've done, but however, imagine that versus spending millions and millions of dollars before you even actually start building something. Those millions of dollars, you could prototype something and get a real concrete outcome, right? So challenging, I guess, from the front, how you actually build business cases together, how do you actually solve a problem at the front, is mind-boggling for executives. They're scared about such things. They'll ask all these questions. And mind-boggling for project manager. What do you mean I don't know what my outcome, like how do I know I'm on budget, on time? You know, that's the first problem. The second thing is, so that's experimentation, right? So you basically have an idea and you basically go through the experimentation. Some would fail, some would go back to the drawing board, but some will go through. And then transition to reality. How do you have your prototypes go into this, let's do this? That's where, I guess, Agile kicks in and a bit more stability and so on. However, there is still a problem with Agile in that sense that most people know only Agile from a developer's perspective, not from a BA's perspective. And BAs, it boggles their mind. What do you mean stories? Story cards. You mean I've got to fit my requirements into this piece of paper that's that size? Yeah, I'm kind of shaking heads. Yes. So you have challenges at the cross between an analyst and developer. Because one cuts code, the other is trying to write words or diagrams or so on and so forth, tables and so on. So that's like language problems along the way. So in comes BPMS, in comes BPM software, right? I just told you before, these products these days give you instant feedback. You process model, I draw a diagram, you say you need to raise an order. Okay, I draw a box, analysts would do that. I draw a diagram that says raise order, and then makes a decision, oh, approvals above a certain amount, draw an XOR gate. Most people will know what that is, even if when you do UML. So it will split, and then do some calculation, and then send it short of an email, generate a PDF, save something to a database. Easy diagram for any analyst to draw. Now the thing is, with BPMS software, as soon as you do that, and you double click on each box, you can configure it. So if you're saying order, it'll be a forms designer. And then you can just drag the text boxes and so on and so forth with the usual IDE type development with the drag the box. And then the next one, you can do calculation. You can obviously type some description into that box. The next one, save into database, they can actually drag the connector. And they can drag the fields into the thing, and so on. So each box has a connection behind it, a smart connector behind it. Most BPMS tools will do that. Will be able to allow you to, again, model-driven development. So as an analyst, you don't need to know which SQL, what field, and so on. That's plumbing, right? But if you're very technical as an analyst, sure, you can do that. You can go deeper, but you can stop there. You can hand the same diagram. Imagine being in a workshop with developers, and you learn a bit of the drag and drop creating the forms, and you draw the diagram in front of them in this kind of a projector style thing. And so is this what you mean? Is this what you do? So you draw the process model in front of them, and there's a form, you double click on the form. Is this how you want the form to look like? You save the process and it appears on your mobile phone. Is this what you want the form to look like on your mobile phone? And they go, yep, that's pretty much. And then at the end of the day, you just go, please sign here, that's what you want. And then you can write it up, put it into Jira or whatever other Agile software that you can actually then put the plumbing in, describe that to the developer, and then they use the same blueprint and build it out, pair it out. Right? Imagine such software exists. It does. It changes the way analysts and developers interact. Technology already exists for you to actually go and push through that barrier. Right? And monitoring, again, out of the box. You can actually have very quickly dragging together these elements of the process model and time, lead time, processing time, and so on, and put fancy reports together, and you jump into thought again. So just to wrap that one up, for disruption, number one is how do we get people to have an idea and see something on their mobile phone the fastest possible way? The proof's in the pudding. If I can actually show you that within a week, an executive, wouldn't it be nice if I can do all my travel approvals, so all requests for travel, you know, on a mobile phone, because all the executives and partners are very busy people, and I would be able to be on the fly, just go yes, no, and not have my PA do it and always just say yes to everything and have data quality integrity issues, which is happening. Wouldn't it be nice if that happens? Do it in a week, show it to them. Is this what? Test it with 1 or 2 executives? Yeah, roll it out. In 4 weeks, they got something. This happened in Deloitte. So then they go, oh, that's really cool. We've got a whole bunch of very smart people. Let's keep doing this. So they launch themselves into this cycle of thought to reality. And of course, there's still there's some pain. As I said, there's not, the path is never easy. What happens to my PMO? Like, you know, you're bypassing a lot of other things. So there's still, you know, there's still some transition disruptions happening at the moment. But that's an example, a small example of how that could work. BPMS platforms, if you do play with them, anybody has any experience with model driven? Yeah, which one?
BPM and 2.0, I use Signavio.
Signavio, yes, okay. Yeah, the modeling tool. Okay, so BPMS platforms, S being the suite, and it's commonly there's a common misconception, there's 2 kinds. This is BPA, so business process analysis and architecture. You're modeling, it doesn't run. So if you understand it from QET, you model a whole bunch of stuff, but no apps comes out of it. It's not a program. So BPMS actually runs application. You have something on your mobile phone or you're interacting with something. So an application is being built.
But if you're using Bizagi will give you the like end application kind of thing?
Yeah, so Bizagi is one, yeah. So Bizagi has the modeling and the implementation, yeah. That's true. Any others? No? Okay. Now, most, Bizagi included, a lot of even the vendor themselves sell the platform wrongly, in my opinion. They go for tenders, and it's kind of circumstance because most organizations will go through the old school of business case, budget, we need to buy software. Tenders come out, they respond to tenders, they build a software, and then it stops. So these tools get underutilized, in my opinion. You have a process engine that can build you anything as long as it's a process. Right now with Internet of Things, you can have the process make you coffee at the end of the last step of approval if you wanted to. Right? But they're not doing it. They bought the platform and they install, you know, Bizagi or the other ones, they install one system or one application. And then they keep the lights on with a support model, and then they walk away. Oh, that'll sustain us for 15 years. That's like buying a Swiss Army knife with all these things and take out the toothpick and use the toothpick and throw the whole thing away. Right? So the whole engine works with continuous improvement, business process management, know what's the next thing you can improve, different business areas, while at the same time the current one that you've just built keeps going. Continuous improvement, using platforms like, we use Appian, we're an Appian partner. So Appian is one of the BPMS platforms that we can implement in. Yeah. So disruptive concept number 3 is skills. I mean, they're all kind of, I've ever said before, I can't remember where I heard this from, projects are always not a problem. The people are. If only we had projects without people, they'll all be successful. Probably not, because we can't deliver anything. But again, these are not, I don't have answers to these things. But if you want to be disruptive in the way you think along the whole thought to reality cycle, you need to kind of rethink a few things. The first one is more sort of caused than at the front. Imagine you can already do that. You can prototype and prototype and prototype into a continuous improvement. It's running well, everyone's happy. Your strategy will be evolutionary, right? You kind of need to you be able to compensate how you go to the market trends. Then it's not really strategy anymore. The strategists kind of need to be a bit more creative thinkers. They need to innovate. In QUT recently, they started to have and started to think of courses that is towards that side of things. Innovation management is going to be the next thing, where you kind of have CIOs are not chief information officers anymore. They're chief innovation officers, because they're thinking of how do I use latest technology to be in front, right? So that trend's changing. Like they realize that we're teaching students to analyze, to be able to get from here to here, from here to here consistently, but they're not training students to think creatively, to innovate. So they're coming up with courses to do that. Sorry, was that a question? No. Okay. So if you're a BPM manager, they tend to be a special team on the one side that kind of does their own thing, that kind of make recommendations, and sometimes people listen or don't listen to them. I mean, for the last 10 years, BPM teams have been, varying levels of success. But if you think about what we're trying to say here in BPM, to try to use their knowledge of continuous improvement to understand the process architecture, to know what is the next product or next application or next thing to improve on, to actually innovate on, then they can become program managers, because they will fire off all these initiatives for you. They can either become or work very closely with PMO. That's the first stage. And when I was doing my Scrum Master course, there were three project managers in the room doing the course with me. They were PRINCE2 certified. They came to the course, and at the end of the course, or towards the end of the course, someone popped his head up and said, "We don't need project managers in the project, do we, if it's an agile project?" And the Scrum Master trainer went, "Yeah, we're just being nice." Which is true. If you talk about agile, and you can't really say exactly, you're not actually, it's going from project to program to continuous improvement. Where's the role of project manager? You see this trend happening? Well, kind of. When you go to the PRINCE2 site to get certification, then they have an agile certificate as well. How does that work? PRINCE2 waterfall with a bit of agile variation on the side. I've not been to the course, so I don't know, but they know and they realize that project managers have to move. If you go to the PM summits and so on, they're talking about agile all the time. So that's shift there. Business analyst to process analyst. Business analysts are not scribes. Unfortunately, a lot of business analysts are scribes. They become scribes. What does business want? Oh, okay. What do you do? What's the, okay. That's scribing. That's not analyzing. That's not innovating. That's not giving good ideas to get things going better. They don't know what they want. Tell them what they should want. That's no courage. That's scribing. So you can separate yourself as an analyst from a scribe. So there's process analyst coming out. That's an actual title. Most people are going for that, right? Enterprise architects to process solution architects. There's only one architect in the room so far. Are you enterprise or solution? Enterprise? Yeah, so we have this concept that what happens if you can evolve. I'm a comic fan, so I use Flash, the Flash, as an example. I don't know if you watched the show. If you break through speed of light, you can be in 2 places at once. You can see me twice because I'm running that fast. So if you can actually be evolving your apps and building stuff and compensating for change that quickly, what does that do to architecture? You're drawing architectures and documenting architectures slower than the app can change if it's done well. However, I'm not saying don't disrespect architecture. I think it's important. But it does have to, I don't have the answer to this one because this is probably one that we need to do more research on. But how can you imagine building a house and the only thing you know is you need, I like my food, so the first thing I think I need a kitchen. I'll start building kitchen first. Right, so I'll do an agile project on building the kitchen. And when I'm finished with the kitchen, we're drawing up the plans and so on. And then I say, oh, maybe I need the living room here. I'll start building and I change my mind. Because of the sunlight or whatever, the living room should be here midway through. I don't lose too much money because only the door frame's done. I move my living room here and start building it. Agile, right? So you kind of do that. Imagine the architect behind you going to try to draw the thing on what's the blueprint for my house, right? So there's solution architects draw at solution level. So how do you actually piece this together? How do you use tools like Signavio and various other architectural modeling tools to come up with conventions and governance and guidelines to be able to discover and change and compensate? So enterprise architects no longer sit in their ivory tower drawing the Grand Canyon and coming up with what you can't do, but very intricately involved in your continuous improvement business transformation projects. So they've got to kind of change in that sense. Test teams to automated testing at the rate you're going, you do need some automation. Because otherwise, or you can all change your profession to testing because that will be the next big thing. Everything will be going so fast, you kind of need a lot of testing. Or become an automated test specialist. And lastly, I reckon we should rename the BPM team to a modern business transformation team, but that's just me. We can call it anything you want. I mean, in one organization, we call it tribal mode, the tribe team. And have multiple tribes, and the tribes go and build stuff, so you can call it anything you want. Change management, that's how we did it. We got excited, we named it fancy names. And traditional business process management teams only consist of process architects, process analysts, and a manager that would be able to understand, govern, and all that sort of thing. Now, if you think about thought to reality cycle, everyone's involved. You would have BAs in there, you'd have developers in there, you have testers in there. You may even have architects in the team as well. And a senior executive that understands the vision and do the road mapping and kind of just keep evangelizing and kind of telling people that this is great, this is great, this is great, and more happens. So your team needs to expand. Traditionally, BPM sits in the business side, and then you have an IT team that develop things, and they're kind of literally very far apart. I'm just saying they need to work together. MBT in its, infancy, the way we look at it, is that we were taking all the good ideas from business transformation, strategies, how to actually execute your 5-year plans, your 10-year plans, what happens there, to agile disciplines, to business process management, understanding of process architecture, continuous improvement, and so on. We talked about all these elements of these disciplines tonight, but none done together. So we did a research to see, okay, has anyone in the world, am I dreaming? Am I, really just in la-la land thinking about all these things? Or is there something real here? Is there someone else that I can talk to that actually understands? And unfortunately, what they've found is that there's a lot of, there are some projects that try to correlate. They work together, good improvements come out, and then they build something. That's fairly disjointed from the rest, but there are some that tries to push that into agile in the way they do things, but never really into systems and so on, which is quite strange, but that's how they've done it. So what we found is that no one's thinking about it in this way. And so we kind of tested the theory, because we've been doing it in some projects already so far, and it's been working. It's not easy to be able to change the culture, as I say, to explain to them but we've done it in a few places. And there's a few ways to do it. You can do it top down, which is usually the hardest, which is to talk to the executives, manage their expectations, say, give us a chance. Don't worry about all these other problems you have. Give us an example of a problem. I'll build you the thing next week. I'll show you that agility works. And then let's talk about how we do it properly with a bigger team and so on. That's showing by proof in the pudding, right? So you can theorize anything you want. You can bring any methodology if you studied in uni into the company. But if you can actually show them how it's done, that's probably the most powerful. If the project's already going and it's in agile mode, it's a bit harder, but it's not impossible either. We've been in a project that we've been struggling with the customer for 6 months before they get it. It's too much, you can't build this, you can't build this. And it reached a breaking point and we go, okay, let us review this for you. And we come in and we basically look at it from a different angle. You're producing what? 80-page documents that's called what? Sodas. I've got a smile in the room. Same project Ron was in. And then you're building stuff. Too slow. And then you review it. Give us a chance. 4 iterations. I'll show you how fast this can be done. Once it's done, we go, okay, there is still too much. Let me give you a new roadmap. So that's also one way you can actually go. So I'll just very quickly run through. This is real in a sense of a customer case study. Queensland Fire Emergency Services. They came to us end of last year basically saying they have a uniforms problem. We sent out 4,000 uniforms to the fireys. 3,000 come back. Because the data is wrong, they don't want to update the information, the integration between the source system, the core system with our access database that's under our table is wrong. And we can't maintain, we don't know where everyone is and so on. Okay, firstly, it's an organizational cultural issue, right? A fiery ate too much, became from an M to an L and don't update the system. There's not much any system can do about that. So the first step obviously is to do a bit of analysis up front to isolate what can we help them with, what can we not help them with, and you've got to do change management. Right, because there's only so much we can do as a system. Agree, got the platform on a pilot level, so they were still figuring out whether they want to use Appian. We say, okay, it's a subscription-based, user-based thing, so just get some and then we can go. Cheap enough, a couple $1,000s a month and go month by month. Then what we did in 2 months, minimal viable product, that's an agile term. We say we're not going to have bells and whistles forecasting and we tweak this load from the uniforms and this person, either we can deliver it every quarter, so 2 uniforms first time, 3 uniforms, and they tweak those numbers. They can see fancy forecast diagrams. Those are bells and whistles, those are features. Now we want to just make sure you generate the right order so that less percentages come back. Right? That's the first step. That's the rough picture that we're painting them. So we went for that. 2 months because integration. The process can be as quick, we can finish the process very fast, but we've got to integrate to one of their systems. So it's a faster product rollout. They're happy. Communication was improved. They had to understand what Agile is. They have not done that before. And there was a couple of misunderstandings as well still along the way. So 1 or 2 false starts. But we got there in the end, and we documented the process and the architecture. So basically, as we were building those process maps, we started to discover, okay, where does this fit in the bigger picture of QFES? And then we started doing a bit of architectural understanding as well of painting that picture. Why? Because in future, they might go, okay, this is great, which actually did happen literally last week. This is great. Can we do it here? Can we do what you did here in another area? Because it improves people's thinking and creativity and go, okay, well, that's process too. A lot of emailing backwards and forwards, reporting, and people don't get their emails and approvals because they're not in time. So same thing, can we do it there? Yes, we can. And so you're painting your process architecture picture already and giving them a nice picture. You discuss like Lego, you know, you built a piece and you found a piece and then you see how it fits into the bigger, grander picture. So we're building the architecture as we go, kind of helping to solve the architectural problems. And that's what I mean. Ongoing, they found more areas that want in. What we want to do, if you want to swing them into that, is to shout from the mountaintop the success. To basically tell everyone, look at this is great, go on a roadshow. You know, change managers do that really well. They basically go and, you know, you produce an MVP, it's really good, gloss it up, go. Why? Because you get more funding. You get the continuous engine going. Depending on the culture, of course, different cultures do like that, some don't. So those are the challenges. So as a summary, I'll wrap it up very quickly, of what we do. Our Agile BPM implementation toolkit, we've changed that name to MBT now, but basically we help in all areas. We can help you build very fast in Appian, which is our tool of choice. Some of us are trained in IBM BPM, Oracle BPM, various other BPM tools as well, but currently most of our projects are in Appian. So we can implement very fast, but because it's open box, we don't hold it close because it's process maps. We can't stop you from learning. So what we'd rather open it up and go, okay, if you're a developer in the organization that bought Appian, let us teach you this. So I talk to a CIO and go, if I bought this platform, what happens to my army of Java developers? Then I'll go, well, they're really smart people, Java developers. Get them on this and go 3 times as fast, right? Because they're able to, they understand object orientation, they understand all these types of things. Get them on this visual and go 3 times as fast. Now, you kind of need some hand-holding and coaching and training, as I say. A lot of things need to change. So we help in terms of the strategy of embedding this culture by reviewing what you're currently doing, making plans for you to transition, training, and so on and so forth. And innovation as well. So we see that as coming. Not a lot of people do innovation management because they're still kind of catching their tail at the end, trying to keep up with current things. And in the UK, more so than here, we do Peace of Mind BPM. They outsource this to us. So we look after continuous improvement in the BPM team. We have tools and platforms along the way. We resell Signavio as well. So I'm a strong believer of not being tool agnostic, being good at what we do. We can actually consult at a high level with disparate of tools, but we have also good people that do Appian and Signavio really well, because then we can go fast. It's all about speed. So if we know exactly how to use it, we can teach you how to use it, and then we go faster together. That's the whole point of platform. Accelerators are the same. Process maps are process maps. All government departments can think they're all different, but managing applications of permits and enforcing them is the same pattern. Whether you are getting boat or dog or horse or tree cutting, it's the same pattern. So you can reuse a lot of process patterns. Because it's open box, you can just literally copy and paste this process pattern and put it in another platform somewhere else. If only they would share with each other. Right, so we've got a whole bag of accelerators in there and tools we use. There's no point buying a platform, even some BPMS platforms I know, and we want to go, we bought it and then go, okay, hang on a minute, let us install this thing for 6 months, because all 3 environments is very complex to install. We'll install it for 3 months before you can even start using it. Then you bought the wrong platform because it's too slow. The whole point about this is speed. Any further questions? If not, there is a survey form. I always like to improve how I do things and how I tweak things. very happy to have further discussions with you about what I've talked about. As I said, we don't say we have answers to everything. We're all here to learn. It's changed since the last time already. So, you know, it's a community. We want to learn together with people who actually do it. And if you can hand those forms back to myself or Mobin at the back or Ron, that would be awesome. Thank you.